Hello everyone. Today we will study the chapter 2 together, and the name of the chapter 2 is Modeling as a Design Technique. The main contents of this chapter is to introduce why do we need the modeling, or what is the modeling. This is the main content, and so let's have a brief introduction to the modeling. A model is an abstraction of something for the purpose of understanding it before building it. It is for building a model, we need to omit non-essential details, and it will be easy to manipulate than the original entity. And we all know that the abstraction is a fundamental human capacity. Permits us to deal with complexity. It means for the real system, maybe the real system is very complex. It's very complicated to understand. How could we understand it before building it? So the main method is to build some models for it, and using these models, it will help us to capture the main aspects or essential aspects. So why do we need to build models before building the real system? So it is the main purpose of building models is to verify that the models satisfy the system requirements. It means we want to verify that, or want to test that whether the system we will build it satisfies the requirements of customers or users. But if we can also test it or verify it after we have implemented the system, but it will be costly. If we found some flaws or found some functions which cannot fulfill our requirements. But if we build some models, we can verify the system using the models and adding details gradually. And finally, we transform the models into an implementation. Then we can guarantee that the built system will fulfill our requirements. So here are some examples of modeling. Engineers, artists, and writers have built models for thousands of years to try out designs. This is try out designs. It is the same meaning with what we have discussed. Try to test the system, verify whether the target system fulfill our requirements. For example, we need some architecture models, airplane scale models for wind tunnel tests, and pencil sketches for composition of oil paintings, and blueprints of machine parts, or some outlines of books or paper. For example, when we are, all of us have writing tasks in primary school, and teachers of primary school usually taught us to write out some outlines before we complete or before we start to write the papers or write a story. So what is the useness of outline? It letters to it makes the idea of our story clear, and it means the outlines help help us understand what we want to write clearly, and it helps us to find some inappropriate arrangement before we start to write. And we can also make some changes to the story or to the books before we start to write it. And this is also some detailed explanation of the purpose of modeling. So there are several, mainly 4 reasons. First one is testing a physical entity before building it. It means test the skill. For example, test the skills models of planes, cars, boats in wind tunnel, and water tanks to improve dynamics. And sometimes we also use simulation because of advances in computation. It means we can test the system or build some models using computers rather than building physical models. And the benefits of simulation in computers will be is cheap and accessible of information. For example, if we test the skill models of planes using physical models, we need to use some different kind of sensors to get the data. But if we use a computer to simulate the tunnel test, we needn't this kind of physical sensors to get data. We can get different kind of data from computers directly. But both physical and simulation models are cheaper than real systems. And the second function of modeling is communication with customers. We can use mockups to imitate the external behavior of a system, and we can communicate with the customer in terms of different kind of requirements. And the third is visualization. It's giving us an intuitive view before implementation. For example, the storyboard of movies similar to the outline of a story what we have discussed, and it let writers to see how their ideas flow, verify, and change when necessary. An artist's sketches, it will help them block out ideas and make changes before committing them to oil or stone. Sometimes the main benefit is because if we want to change some ideas after we have finished the work on the stone, it will be very difficult. But if we use some sketches, it will be easy to change. And the last one is reduction of complexity. Models separate out a small number of important things to deal with at a time. That is, why do we need to separate out some aspects of the system? It is because our humans can only cope with a limited amount of information at a time. So we need models to help us to understand the systems from one aspect to another aspects one time. And abstraction is very important. It is the main theme themes of modeling. It means modeling is a kind of abstraction, or it is a process to abstract. The goal of abstraction is to isolate those aspects that are important for some purpose and suppress unimportant aspects. And all models are incomplete and inaccurate. What does it mean? It means we cannot use any model to describe the real system, all aspects of the real system. We must choose some essential aspects of the system to describe them. For example, human words and languages are abstractions. It means they are incomplete description of the real world. We cannot use human language to describe all the details of a picture, or transfer, or to describe what you have experienced in the last year or just the last minute, because there are so many details in the real world. For example, when you met some friend yesterday and you talk some things, if you want to tell someone else about this, you just need to tell them, okay, you met a friend and you talked, and what you have discussed with your friend, but you needn't to tell others and all the background details, all every details of the places you met your friend. For example, whether there are some cars where there are some cars running on the road, or whether there are some other persons walked by you, or some birds standing on a tree, or some planes fly over you when you are talking. So all of these are non-essential aspects to what you want to tell. They are non-essential. Because you only tell your friend, tell someone else what you have discussed with your friend, and when did you meet your friend. That's the important thing. It means abstraction is everywhere, and so the purpose of abstraction is to limit the universe so we can understand or focus. It means we needn't to talk about unnecessary things. And a good model captures the crucial aspects of a problem and omit the others. For the example what you have discussed, it means you just need to focus on what you have, when did you meet your friend, and what you have discussed. Then after you told someone else about this, then they will know, okay, for example, you met your friend yesterday and you talk about the weather, and talk about or you have talked about with your friend about a journey to some overseas, or talk about with your friends about someone else. Okay. There are three kinds of models for the object-oriented developing. Just now we have mentioned many different kinds of models for the real world, but in this course we will study three kinds of models. They are useful for understanding softwares. They are class model, state model, and interaction model. All of them have been introduced briefly in the last chapter, and in the following chapters we will introduce them separately. And so now we need to understand the relationship among these models. And each model describes one aspect of the system. Class model describes state structure, on which the state and